Yeah, that's amazing. You must have had it. Oops.
Hang on. So, is there any way? Can you sit a tiny bit closer together?
Is this okay here, or should it come
Well, if
closer?
A teeny bit closer would be good.
Want me to get a little closer?
Yeah. Get a little closer.
You want this thing off here? Or you
No,
want
doesn't matter.
keep it on?
That's good.
Sure. 3 hour. That's funny.
But you want to concentrate on what she has to say and not on this.
See, I think it's the smart thing is to take what you want right from the start here, so I can walk a little bit.
So, well, I wanted to. Can I? Okay. So this is the idea. I'm
Now
interviewing.
you have to speak loud, see? I don't hear well.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about your life, your experience of living in Germany and coming here, and
No, she really the what is impressive. She's actually a German.
I'm actually what?
German. You are German.
Of German descent.
Well, what was your birth certificate?
I was American. I was born here. That's why I'm an American citizen.
But your sister was born in Germany.
No, she was
No?
born here too.
Really?
Yes.
That's strange. I never knew it.
so where did you meet?
In school. At university. And in this particular area, the school on the university had something to do with it. And she was, basically a German. Her mother was a German, a prolonged German. They used to live in Austria.
No.
Austria? No, I'm sorry, that was on the other
Strasbourg.
side, in Strasbourg, that's right.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. But haven't you? They were all speaking.
Okay. Hi. Sorry about that.
All right.
So you met in
Let's
school.
see, we met also through the family because my relatives knew his family, and we got to know each other already at a very early age. I must have been about 13 when I first met him, and I right away had a crush on him. And
She had the crush.
yeah.
I had another crush. A very nice looking gal.
Okay.
No,
and,
she was. As a matter of fact, she.
Then later on,
how
we
many
met
children
at the
did she-
university,
See, I can't even finish a sentence.
and we took some classes together. And then the situation in Europe was so bad. And then we talked about going to America, and we asked him, or I asked him, would you consider that at all? And he was very adventuresome, and he said, oh yes, I think I would go. And then the whole thing, we talked about this, the whole family, and we made plans, and
Go ahead. I like to hear it too.
and
What was it? Was that a tough decision to make to leave?
well, that was his decision. See, I don't know how tough it was. I just, I was all set on going to America because my father was there, and we had lost just about everything we had in Germany. And so I was set to go there, and so I was happy that he agreed to go along too, because I didn't, I guess we were engaged already at the time. And So I don't know how hard the decision was for him. You know, he doesn't talk that much. So, so that's
Well, what
when
about
we
for you?
decided to go.
Or any person with a half-man's saying which gate would be the best. And there was nothing in Germany. I came up from the university and I had a PhD and I got my degrees and so on. And that took 2 years to do. And after I had it, and then I could have gone on the university and gone to one special area. And I had a good degree, you know. I had a summa cum laude, so why not? But when I got over in America, I found out that didn't even do me any good. Not really, because when I got up out of the train, that was a different story entirely. Because there I had to sit down again, repeat the senior year at the University of Michigan, and then go back, and that was a 1-year study again, you know, and I knew quite a bit. And then I had to do the residency more, and I spent a year downtown, and then I spent 1 year downtown, and they really did so yeah, let's keep it quiet. So,
Where did you work downtown? Which hospital?
well, right now that doesn't exist anymore. Harper, Grace, I was a year at Grace Hospital. And then there was a university, an idea where they wanted somebody in the suburbs. They looked for a doctor who was not experienced in this area. So I took it, and then with the time it improved, and then I was eventually the chief of staff of the hospital for 4 years. But it took a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would also mention that when we came over here, you know, with a child, that my father bought a house, and all of us gathered in this house, which naturally facilitated, you know, we had no money to pay for rent or for anything. And my sister came with her husband, and she eventually had a child too. So we all lived in this house, and we cooked together and whatever. And that facilitated, you know, coming over, because if you come over and you have nothing at all, it's extremely difficult, and that helped us a whole lot. So we stayed in that house until we were all able to go out on our own. Like my sister, they went to Pennsylvania, where they still are. He was working in a chemical factory. And then when he naturally was in the hospital and had some money, then we bought ourselves a little house in the suburbs. And that made the whole thing easy, the transition coming from Europe over here, with really we had nothing in our hands.
So you had, where was this, where was the house?
Pardon?
Where was that house that you stayed in when you first got here?
Well, that house was in Boston Boulevard.
Oh.
It was a very nice house. It was an old house, but it was a very fine house.
Don't
And
go
the-
in.
And there were a
Don't
lot
even
of
go
rooms.
close to
There were
it.
plenty of rooms in it.
It was in the beginning a very nice house, 3 cars, underground, even at that time, copper, keeping things going.
I'm just gonna I'm going to move this over this way a little bit because I think. Oh, sorry. Was you?
No.
Because
Okay.
the sun's coming this way, so it would be better if I actually were on this side. So, Boston Edison, I guess. Is that right? The Boston Edison neighborhood.
Yeah.
And which you said you had one child that time?
At that, it depends. There was Karl. Then came the second boy. And how many did we have in there?
We had 2 kids. Both of our kids.
Well, Mikey.
We had them, and then she had a boy too. So we had 3 small children. I think
Yeah.
we were about 9 people altogether. Of course, my parents were both there, our father and mother, and then she with her husband and the child was 5, and then us 2 and 2 kids was 7 or 9 people. And
How do you get 9 people? Huh?
pardon?
How do you get 11 people?
No, I didn't say 11.
9 people?
Well, Anita and Mike and their boy and us 2 and our 2, 7.
7.
You know what, I just said there's 9 people living there with my parents. That's where I get the number 9. It was hectic sometimes, so many people together in the same kitchen, and it was good. It didn't last too long.
How long did it last?
Oh, a couple of years.
Well, well,
Well, see, my dad passed away, and then we stayed there until I guess we were all ready to move out. It was quite a few years.
yeah, and then we went out in the suburbs and looked at a small house and bought one.
What were some things that you missed about Germany when you first were there? Was there anything you missed when you first came?
When I first came?
Yeah, the first few weeks you were here.
Yeah, this is overwhelming, and you have to be able to hold it together. I thought when we came off the ship, then I found a man in New York. He didn't know me and so on. And somebody saw that I really didn't know what the hell was going on. And he said, I gave you this tract down there. And I said, I will do it. I give it to you for, I think it was $60. And so I talked to that guy, and he said, well, yeah, he can do it to New York for $60 or $55 from New York to Detroit.
Oh, the tractor?
Yeah, like
Oh.
one of those things. And then we took the train, and it was a long ride. How long were those?
Oh,
8
7, 8 hours.
8 hours or something like that. And then what we had on our hands, one thing, we had one chocolate. That was it.
It's all the money we had. We could buy a chocolate bar for Anita.
Yeah, it was.
We came here with nothing.
I had something. I had 10 cents in New York, in Detroit, from New York, in Detroit. And so I called her sister, and so I called, telephone. Oh God, I didn't know what I was doing, and I thought it was fun. So I called from there, and somebody, a taxi driver. Remember, we had a taxi, and were then taken to.
The taxi? No, they picked us up, didn't they?
I had to call.
Yeah, you called and they picked us up
Yeah.
at that
that's the
railroad
idea.
station. Do you know that old railroad station, which is no longer used?
It was very nice at that time, but obviously
Oh yeah.
a long time gone. Yeah.
So the Michigan Trunk Station, the one that's empty now?
Well, I've never been there ever again.
What was it like when you arrived? What was your impression?
Well, it was at the time a fairly overwhelming experience. You know, I mean, we come from a smaller, Heidelberg is a beautiful place, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with what you see in New York or any place else like that.
What about the train station itself? When you first came off the train and you arrived in Detroit?
It was a very nice, the innard of that place. Yeah, it was nice. It was amazing. And when you think the thing is completely empty now, I have to ask Mike.
What about your impression about it?
Pardon?
What was your impression when you first arrived?
My impression when what?
When you first arrived in Detroit at that station?
Oh, I was probably in shock, being so exhausted from all of this, all of these impressions. And I probably just went up and went to bed to just forget about everything.
Sure.
And what about the station? Did you think
Well, this big railroad station here in downtown somewhere, which no longer functions.
yeah.
That's where we arrived. It was a very beautiful station at the time.
What was someone was there to meet you and then you...
He took us right to the house and showed us the place and where they had fixed up the beds. This is for you, and this is we had a little for Anita, that little room. And so I don't know, I just took it for granted because I had looked forward to this for years. Because when the war started and things were getting bad, that's all we talked about, is going to America. So I took it for granted, and this...
The war was over.
I mean, for him, probably there was much different. I was coming to my family. He was coming, to just anybody. So that was for him entirely different. Because my sister was there, my parents were there.
And your family was all in Heidelberg? Your family?
In Mannheim, and then they moved to Heidelberg.
Did you see them again afterwards?
Oh yeah, sure. It's easier in those days. It was easier than it became later because I had no time left to travel a lot. Today it's different. If I had enough for a couple of weeks, I just hop into an airplane.
Just one second. Hot? Are you too hot? The sun's hitting you now.
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I can take it off.
Okay.
Is that?
I can. So tell me about.
Don't have to do anything.
Just wondering which. Hang on. What about when you were a child? And do you have some memories about your childhood and something that represents your life in Germany? Maybe that something significant.
Germany? Well, there are a lot of things that are important.
Would you want to know something from Germany or from here?
Either one, something, maybe one of each. Something a story that captures maybe an important
Well,
part of your...
my mother was a very restless person, and she would go back and forth. And so we went across the ocean several times. And when I was 9 years old, and we were leaving from here, from Detroit, and I just felt, this is the end. I just felt this. And my father was very upset, and I was very upset, and I was crying on the boat for days because I just felt, I no longer have a father. And this is the way it turned out, because I was raised by my mother, and he stayed here in Detroit, so that was a very bad thing to happen. And I've discussed that with psychologists. They say that a child feels that when he loses a parent that you don't deserve to have as parents, that you feel guilty about it in some way. And so that was a terrible thing. I mean, my father really was broken up, and so was I. My sister, I think she didn't realize it because she was younger. She didn't, take it seriously. And so that was a bad thing. And in Germany, I really flourished there. In my early years there, in school years, I was always good in school. And I was outstanding in sports, which was very important over there. And I always got in my report card, there was a little adding thing, Maria, they called me, excels in sports. And so my first years, I really went in for, oh yeah, I can tell when I ran a 2,000 meter race, and I had never done that before, and one day the teacher said, well, today we're going to run 2,000 meters, and I said, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Nobody ever trained us.
But that was in Germany.
Yeah, I'm talking about Germany now. And so I said to myself, well, no, I'm going to make a plan. And first, I'm going to just run in the middle, very easy and relaxed. And then when I get to the end, I'm going to push forward, and then I'm going to just push all the way. And that's how it worked. I won this race, and I tell that to everybody I know.
Were you also?
And then later on, I got interested in languages, and I studied many languages. And like I was actually fluent in English, French, and German, and I studied Latin. I took medical school, or pre-med, and we had to take a basic Latin test, so I passed that. And then I taught myself Spanish. A traveler's Spanish, like someone told me the other day. She said, well, you asked, where's the bathroom, this is basic. And because we had been in Mexico several times on vacations.
How does that get in here?
Pardon?
At that time, we
What?
had no ability to go down to Mexico.
Oh yeah, that comes later. Yeah, that comes later, my Spanish. And we were in Mexico several times. Then I always had vocabulary and stuff. We were sitting in the sun, and then I was going over the vocabulary, and that was very easy. And we were also in Spain. We traveled there, and there, I always beefed up my Spanish because I was always oriented towards the languages.
Dr. Merkle, did you also learn other languages too?
Oh yeah. In Germany, you had to learn Latin if you want to get a degree. Mm. And I don't know if it's still going these days, but in my days, you had to have a degree. Yeah.
And
Latin.
So, when you were, so where did you grow up then? You grew up in Mannheim?
I grew up in Mannheim, absolutely. Yeah.
And is that, did you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a sister and a brother. My brother, he was in the army. I was in the army. And my brother it was down in southern Spain, down fairly far down and below the borderline, way below. And there was an attack told, and he got the leg, it wasn't shut off, but he was damaged considerably at the time in a cast. How do you call that these days?
Leg splint, or a cast, or so.
In his case, yeah, he was when you're in a hospital, down, you stay right where you are, because it's more important to get movable soldiers and to get them driven around for the and so on.
So when, how old were you when you got married?
I think
It's very simple. It was 19.
25. We got married in 20.
Yeah, sure.
No, in 45.
Yeah,
1940. I can't figure it out. 1945.
I'll tell you exactly.
So,
It was the 23rd of May, 1943.
43, there was engagement.
Right.
We got married after the war, which was 45.
Right.
43 was the engagement.
Right. Yeah, that was it was in the 3.
so was it a big wedding or?
Oh no. I mean, right as
Oh,
was
we found a piece
immediately
of
after,
bread.
immediately after the
was
war,
it.
and there were just people that we knew from the immediate area, and
Was it the
I just wore a suit, and because I don't like fussy stuff like that. I just had a nice navy suit, and there was a big argument. I didn't have any good shoes to wear with it. I had some very good shoes, excellent, but they were already quite worn, and so I was coming to my mother-in-law, to his mother, and she says to me, "You can't wear those shoes; they are so worn." And then she went looking around for some shoes. She had some shoes in boxes. She was trying to get me to wear some of her shoes. And I said, "Oh, no, I'm not going to wear those shoes," because the shoes are very fun. They were they were like suede, and the suede was very worn. And so I wore those shoes anyway, then, with my blue suit.
Was it a very happy day? In your memories?
Oh yeah, considering what was available. We lived away from the place where in a house where we didn't even live in that place. We had our own leased place, and it was all right. It was nice, and my parents were right now on a hill in Heidelberg. A nice place, and it was my mother at that time was already starting getting blind, and I got to know a sizable proportion of people that we had in a relationship to, something which is not as common as one had it down there. So, and we had no problems getting some food. Went up out of the of this Heidelberg, the rim of the situation, and then she would send me on a plane or from a car. Out of the question, that wasn't available, but you could always get a bicycle. So she was going after me. You ought to go into the Odenwald, it's called. It's where the farmers are, and so I had to go out there, right? Remember that? You never went there. Just had to do it
Get
myself.
some berries or some apples or something.
Yeah.
That you picked them.
But we also got
was
packages
it?
in from America, because I was
Yeah,
working.
then you
I was working for the military government for over 2 years, and there was one GI who was very friendly, and I told him that my father lived in Detroit, and my sister, she was already here, and that they would send us packages. They sent the packages to the military government, with the APO, with the military post, and then he would tell me, "Oh, we got a package here for you." So they were sending us packages regularly, and then we were really in business. So they would send cigarettes, just for exchange, and they sent a lot of coffee, which everybody was really sharp. And from then on, we were really set pretty much.
So when did Anita was born there?
Anita was born in Heidelberg.
Mm-hmm.
so tell me about that.
About what?
About Anita's, when she was born, was that at home, or was that did you, so that,
Well, when she was born, when she was, I thought it was time. We took our bikes and rode up to that clinic up the hill. And then nothing happened, and they were giving me some kind of medication, but nothing happened, so we went home again. And after a few days later, I really felt something was happening. And then we got a cab and went up there. And there were nuns there, and they were just wonderful. They were so caring, and it was just delightful. And in those days, you stay there for a whole week. And then I came home, and then...
And you got food.
Hmm?
You got food at the same time.
Oh yeah, sure, you were fed. And the social services sent a woman over to help for another week. She was cleaning, mopping the floors and doing stuff like that. And then she was the apple of our eye. And we called her a little doll in German, Böbchen. And a relative, we saw them, they always saw us, and she said, well, she is really a little doll. She was a really cute little thing. But she was stubborn as can be. She just didn't want to eat, and so a colleague of his came over, and I told him this, and I said that she won't eat, but she was, wasn't skinny or anything. So he just thought, I was making this up. So he says, okay, now to get something here, and then I'm going to see how we can feed her. And so I had made, what do you call this? Cream of wheat, and I guess with applesauce. And so he sat down with her, and she wouldn't eat. She wouldn't open her mouth. And she could be quite difficult. But we had a little porch, and we had a little basin, and in summer it was real warm, so we had her sitting in that little thing, and she really liked that. She was splashing around. And we have an album with these pictures. You can see that we have a lot of pictures of her, and she was really a cute little thing.
I have lots of them. Active war.
yeah. So,
When something else in America happened, he was in a POW camp, that's a prisoner of war. In Heidelberg, he was in the camp, and the guards were very laissez-faire. Most of them were like Puerto Ricans, and they didn't care. So we decided that we were going to get him out of there because they were going to transport them into France, and we didn't want that because the French were terrible with their prisoners. So one real bad night, my sister, she's the gutsy one of the family, she rode down to this camp with a bike and had a second bike. Now you can do that if you're if you know your bike. So she rode with her own bike and with the second bike down there. I guess it was raining, and the guards were all in their guard houses. They were all leaning back to stay away from the rain. And he came out and got home on the second bike. And then he disappeared a couple of times to several acquaintances of ours, just to make sure that they're not looking for him. And then he came back, and we just resumed our regular lives. So that was quite an adventure.
Well,
Oh, and there's another little thing that happened.
okay, wait.
That was in Germany. So after the war, everything stands still. There's the railroads, the cars just sit there. The police disappears. There's nobody there. And so there were a couple of railroad cars sitting around the railroad station. They were just sitting there, and they were full of packages. And the people, they were going there and helping themselves to these packages. And I was looking at the scene here and was saying what's going on. I was just passing by. Then I saw a man sitting on the floor with his legs apart, and he had a bunch of packages, and he had a knife, and he was ripping them open. And then I was wondering what the hell is in those packages, because nobody had anything. So I approached him from behind, and he noticed that somebody was coming. He turned around with his knife, and I took off in a hurry because I was scared stiff. So that was one of the things, and another thing.
Where was
happened.
that? Where was that?
So when the Americans, the Allies came in, they tell the population you have to hand over all the guns and stuff that they have, and so we had quite a few guns from all over, and we thought. If we hand those over, they're going to suspect us. They said, "What are you doing with all those guns?" So we decided we all decided together, we were going to just throw them in the river. And so my sister put them all in a briefcase, and she walked down to the river, and that was, a chancy thing because they had patrols all over the place. And, but she didn't. She threw them all into another smaller river in the area aside from the Rhine River.
How old was she?
Pardon?
How old was she? What year was it, and where were you?
How old was she?
Oh, at least 22.
No,
And where was this?
I don't know.
What city?
Pardon?
In Heidelberg.
Heidelberg. So, were you there too? Were you married at that time?
We were married in.
You said 45. We got married
40.
after the war.
Was
I know
after.
that.
Yeah.
So you fought in the war.
Pardon?
Did you fight in the war? Were you a?
Sure, I was 4 years in Russia.
4 years?
Russia.
Well, he wasn't fighting. He was with the medical corps. So there
So what?
was.
Tell me some.
Sorry?
You worked as a doctor.
Yeah. They were. It was a long thing, obviously, and then we were sent from the field hospital, and you would get 2 weeks vacations. I think, I don't remember exactly. I have some pictures at home where you can see some people standing around the operating table, and we thought it was interesting. The thing that was not a pleasant thing, but it was
He learned a lot.
it was very
Yes.
important to have it, and some of us were better in that area than others. Others were not designed to have all the blood flowing all over, even though we didn't, like I said, I have some pictures, and we didn't lose very many people. I think we had lots of sick people, but we didn't really, when we got some artillery on the building, then you wanted to go underneath, but you had the soldiers, so you couldn't take them all away, usual war situation. Yeah.
So were you? Did you write to each other during those years, or what?
Where?
When you were?
In the war?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Oh, I still have it. Oh, that thick. Sure.
Of letters? No. This thick of what? Of what?
Paper.
Uh-huh.
Sure. Yeah, and if you can always sit down and you have a half hour or so, nothing happens, so you sit someplace, and nobody bothered me, and they knew exactly well that nobody's going to interfere with me, period. And in the meantime, I was an officer, and they didn't get into my actions.
So what about you? Did you find your life in America, did you find yourself thinking about your country, about Germany, or did you get to be comfortable here over time?
Well, that's a difficult one. It is. You are talking about a big war that we were in, right? I mean, we were with our troop. We were, I think it's called Opa. It's a river just before Moscow, and one had to be very, very careful. And the Russians saw a German and who had lost the sight directions, and so we had to be very careful to get those guys. Some of them were idiots, obviously, and they made it back to the troops, but some of them did it not, and that was a terrible situation. You know, the Russians, it was a horrible war. They caught a German, and they got him undressed, and the temperature was about 40 below zero. He died in half an hour. So one was running and tried to get that guy back into the troops. And they learned very rapidly, stay away from these situations, you know. Yeah. So nobody wanted to talk about those things. I don't do today. It's a bad thing. But I can give you pictures, show you pictures. I'm not going to give them away. So.
Was there ever a specific moment during your time in Russia, a particular moment that you remember as something very a turning point, or some kind of a vivid memory that of an emotion you had when you were there?
When you backtracked from Moscow?
Yeah, sure. I'll show you pictures. You wouldn't believe it when you have thousands of people walking on the highway, walking. And they were just give them something to eat if you had any food. We didn't have any food either. And but that didn't bother us. But there was a group of Gestapo. You know what Gestapo is? You know, they were among the normal people, and there were some of these horrible creatures that were acting like that. Just horrible. We didn't have anything to do with them. But, well.
So, when you got back to Germany, do you have a... One second here. Do you remember the day you got back and you saw each other again and all that?
After the war? Oh, sure.
What was that like? The day you got back home to Germany?
Yeah, it was 45.
Where did you see each other again? At the train station, or?
Oh, we came... Well, it was, the war was still going on. When the war, there was a fairly large group of officers, and anyway, I got pulled off the road. You were there at the time, remember? There was this fellow with a small little boat. Well, we picked somebody off the street, and he had a gun in my face, and it didn't feel very good. And he took me into this jeep and took me to a place that used to be a Kaserne.
Barracks.
Barracks, something like that, yeah. And he took me into into these barracks. And a few days later, she opened her mouth, and they pulled me into the third floor and said, "This is your unit. You have to have these guys well again in no time at all." You know, and they didn't have serious guys, so it worked all right.
So, tell me about something that. Hang on.
Yeah.
What? Tell me about something that you remember when your first little while living here. What were some things that were difficult for you to get used to about life in America, for example?
Yeah, extremely difficult.
What were some things that were hard to get
Well,
used to?
The first thing is to really identify the environment. Number one, my English was nothing to sing about, even though I was a good singer. But it was in Germany. On the theater.
You sang in the theater?
Sure.
What did you sing?
Oh, all kinds of things.
He sang opera and songs, you know.
Yeah.
Can you sing something, an example?
Can I?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, come on.
It's too late for that.
Just one song. How about
You?
Well, he only knows the German songs.
That's good. I like a
We
German
don't
song.
know American songs.
No, German is good.
German songs?
Sing Guten Abend, Gute Nacht.
Yeah, that's a nice evening song. Yeah, that's
A
nice.
lullaby.
Yeah.
Oh, could you sing it?
Guten Abend, gute
You don't want to
Nacht.
spoil your appetite. Don't give it to her. I won't take it.
Sing
That's
it.
a long time ago.
No, it's nice.
Oh,
No, well, I have to
over.
say, he has adjusted much better to America because he was out all the time.
You had a busy
for
career.
his work
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. See, I was the one who was sitting home with the kids, and I have really never adjusted to the American way of life.
What is it?
Pardon?
What is it that's difficult about the American way of life? Specifically.
Well, American women are much more emancipated, and I just, like I said, I always wait for him to give me something, you know, and and I'm not terrifically well informed. Also because I don't hear. See, I can't hear like the newscasts and things like that. So
well, it's a family problem.
that's a
With the
psychological.
hearing loss.
That's a
Sure.
problem.
But okay, how about you, Dr. Merkle? Did you enjoy practicing medicine here?
Oh, yeah. Always did.
Did you joke around with your patients?
Well, my wife and I, we go eating in a hotel once, and there is hardly a place where I'm not known. Oh yeah. Sure, today again. So there's always something going on, even though I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, see, through his work, he just met so many people, and he adjusted more to the way of life here than I ever have, because I was housebound for the whole years, so that's one of my problems.
So what was the best
Pardon?
what are your best memories of your life here? What are the nicest things that happened here for you?
For my life here,
Yeah. For both of you.
What do you want me to?
well, I could say that I never really got independent. I have always been depending on the family. and which is a European or German type of thing, that the mom, you know, to the older lady, she's taken care of, and this is what I'm looking for.
I understand you spend a lot of time with your grandchildren here?
Yes, that was a very nice time. I had a lot of time. I had him over at the house, and we'd go take him out eating, and we'd go on vacations together. And those were some very nice years. Those were some of the best years of my life, absolutely. But now, I mean, they don't want to be cared of. I mean, they can take care of themselves. So,
What
so
about
you see him occasionally, and says, "How are you doing?" And Stephanie tells me what she's studying.
So, Dr. Merkle, are you proud that your granddaughter is becoming a doctor also?
Yes. Sure.
So tell me a story.
A story.
Yeah, a funny story. Hmm.
Well, there's one story that comes back. We had been, I think might have been over here, not half a year. I went downtown in Detroit, and I wanted to get accepted to the university, and the gentleman who looked at me and said, "Well, as long as we have people that have normal and the appropriate it would be difficult to say it in a nice way. In short, he was a knowledgeable man, a doctor, and he told me, under the circumstances today and maybe years from now, we don't need people like you around here. We have all the doctors we need." So I had to go back and take the examination again, the usual stuff, and get out of here. He was not a very nice fellow. It was all right. I never said a word to this guy ever again.
Did you ever meet him later on?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So it didn't bother me. You have to get a fairly thick skin.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't have it, you're in trouble.
What about something that a memory of your maybe of your grandkids? Something that is there something that that you did with them that was
The grandchildren in Germany or the grandchildren here? Oh yeah, that's an entirely different life.
What about the grandchildren?
A fun story about something you did. A memory.
Yeah, when was that?
Something here that I don't know. Maybe a story of something that happened here in Detroit with your
With who?
with your grandkids,
With who?
the grandchildren here.
What happened there?
I really don't know what they're talking. And well, I was teaching Stephanie all kinds of stuff. I was teaching her art history, and I was trying to get her to learn some French. And but she really enjoyed the art history and learned a whole lot. But the French, she didn't seem to, doesn't care for too much. So one day she comes in, she takes her coat and slams it on the couch and says, "I'm not doing any French today." That's the only little story I can remember. Other than that. Oh, yes, I could say that. I studied art history with her, and we had a lot of little booklets where we would have the pictures and we would discuss them with her.
The guy's leaving.
Pardon?
your partner.
And so I taught her all kinds of stuff. And then we took her to New York, and we took her to the Metropolitan Museum. And then she saw the pictures in full size. And then she was so excited and said, "Oh, I know this, and she was, this is Van Gogh, and this is that." And this was so satisfying for me to think that she got such enjoyment out of it.
Mhm.
You know, as I said, those were very good years for me.
How about for you?
What?
Do you have similar memories of nice years here?
Oh yeah, you know, in doctors it's after you have your degree and so on, and then you're so caught up in what's happening, and you have not the time that you don't have that you would want to have. It has changed tremendously. I used to have, well, I still have 4 partners in the practice, even though I'm not in their practice anymore. And it's not the same thing at all.
What's different?
Well, it's very much, you are told, today you are come in at this and this hour and blah blah blah. Not long ago, she was lying in the hospital in the bed and was in a bed, and I was up there at 11:45 because she hadn't been sleeping, and so it can sometimes be a little bit difficult.
So did you have some during your career? Did you have free time to do some?
Right now?
Well, what were some of your favorite pastimes, or what are some of your favorite pastimes?
Well, if I have free time, I jump a plane and take off. And we, about 10 years ago, we were in the Neolithic, which one worked very good for us when we were out in Traverse City, and I had some good times, and I had a couple of not so pleasant days, and
What was of all your travels? What was your favorite place you've ever been?
the most favorite place? Oh, that's,
You mean your travels, or
Yeah, in your travels.
yeah, well, there are some nice ones. I have some nice pictures of those things. Well, you can go down to South Michigan.
well, I enjoyed Egypt.
Really?
It was wonderful. Yes.
What did you like about Egypt?
Pardon?
What did you like about Egypt?
Oh, well, we took naturally a boat down the Nile River. And that was, because then you can see, what the people were doing. There was one man, we observed him on the side of the river, and he was, they all have these long gowns, and he was lifting up his gowns, and he went to the bathroom, and then he wiped himself with a stone. And I think he took a picture of that. And naturally, at the big temples, you would get off the boat, and then you walk around, and they will explain to you, what this is all
What's
about.
the Nile?
And then we were in Cairo in the museum, and there they have the statues the ones you see, and I have studied Egypt, and I studied Egypt with Stephanie. I have studied Egypt several times, so I knew a lot of the names and those things, like the Step Pyramid. I don't know if you know about that. And Soldier, this old guy, he's just like coming out of the old ages. His statue is in the Cairo Museum, so the Cairo Museum was wonderful.
Yeah, it was
And
$2.
we did a lot of shopping
Was all
too.
it cost. Have you
I
been
got
there?
a dress which was painted with all kinds of Egyptian little symbols and so stuff. And I got Stephanie ankle bracelet and bracelets. So whole outfit. So she had the dress, the Egyptian dress, and the ankle bracelet and the other bracelets. And so she was going to places. So it was very nice, really,
Did you?
and very interesting.
Yeah. You enjoyed it also?
Which one?
Egypt.
Egypt, oh, I loved it, sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, we came on the first day and we stayed, which one was it? Which hotel? It was right next to the Nile, remember?
Oh, I don't know the name of that.
And you had, and I bought a thing. You don't have it on?
No, I don't think this is the one.
No,
So
it looks
in
like
the
it.
hotel-
Let's see.
I don't think so.
This is it.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Really? So,
That
in the
was-
hotels there are usually, well, there is a shop which, you know,
Here,
with
I'll
stuff
take a
like
close-up
ankle
of it.
bracelets, and this is
see your
inexpensive
bracelet.
stuff. And then they have a fine jewelry place, and so naturally, I mean, when I have a little time, I went down there, and then I saw in the display a bracelet. Now, he says it's this one, I don't know. That I really liked, and he usually buys me something when we travel. So the husbands usually buy the wives somewhere along the line, gets them something. So I said, oh, I always wanted one like this here, and then then we went down to in the store, and see, then the men, they discuss the price of it. See, the women don't do that. And so I guess they gave us $300 off. They want cash, see, because they can hide cash. But if they write a check in their books, then they have to probably pay tax on it and so forth. So we got a really good deal on it.
How much?
Oh, I don't know. What
I'll
was
tell
it?
you exactly.
Pardon?
$520.
Was that's a good price?
I don't
Oh,
know.
it was a terrific price.
Oh yes, sure.
Yeah, it's 18 karat gold.
Yeah. And also, one
But you
day
have-
we were out, and we
Right.
were out, and we had spent all kind of money, and we said, "No, we're not buying anything anymore today." And then, as we were going towards the boat, there came a man, and he had a whole stack of, you know, something out of Egyptian cotton, and I didn't even know what it was. And I think he just wanted $2 or something. So I think we probably stole that somewhere. And I said, well, I mean, we can't pass that up. And so we took it home, put it in the suitcase. I didn't even know what it was. And then I said, Anita, you can have this, you know. And she said, oh, that's wonderful. We use that for nightgowns. So, yeah, and we took a buggy ride. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Lots of.
You did you ever take a? Tell me stories about a story about Anita when I don't know when she was
About what?
Anita maybe some stories about.
I would have to think about it. I'm sure there's so much going on. But they have a new life that they shouldn't do what we used to do, and I think you should have your own. Find it. It's not all fun.
Oh, she works so hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
So
Huh. You had
Well, I
accept-
told her the story when she was a little kid and wouldn't eat. And then the doctor said, you said, oh, come on, I'm going to feed her. And she just kept her mouth shut.
So, you seem to have very good taste for jewelry. You choose nice things for.
Yeah.
Is it something you're interested in?
Well, if it's worth it. Sure.
So
But
that's
I
nice.
have a little watch, sure, a Rolex.
So, do you ever wonder about what it would have been like if you'd stayed over there in Germany?
You mean if you had stayed there?
Does that ever
I never gave it a thought. Mm-mm.
you?
I could take off right now.
Oh, but not for good. You
Not
mean for a vacation.
Sure. I would go for a couple of weeks, period. Sometimes
He
last
fits
time.
in
I was over there last year, and I just felt terrible. Yeah,
You felt
I had
terrible. Why?
abdominal pain, and they sent me sometimes. Blah blah blah. What could be done and so on. So.
Were there places in Detroit that reminded you that you would go to just to be reminded of some things from Germany, some neighborhoods or stores or places that?
No.
No, I noticed there was a German neighborhood. All the street names were German in Detroit, in East Detroit. Did you ever go there? All the street names. There's
We were up there,
Griner
not
and
far away from the
uh-huh.
airport, and it's Gratiot,
Yeah.
going out that way,
Yeah.
and it's on the left side, and I don't know if they are still functioning today.
You going east or west on Gratiot?
In Gratiot, towards it, that would be on the left side.
But going which way on Gratiot? Going towards the east end of Detroit or towards the west end of Detroit? Because where I
You
saw,
go ahead.
well, where I saw the German street names, it was east. It was like towards 7 Mile and Gratiot.
Gratiot.
Uh,
Well, yes. It has changed. 10, 15 years ago, people would go in and would sell a little glass of wine. Today, you really have to watch. I would watch more carefully. I don't go up there anymore. And I don't think that the German place of people are doing and talk, and then they feel so good about it, and start crying a little bit. You know, the old story.
mm-hmm.
People would like to go to Germany and so on, and go to their groups and so on. Things have changed. So they do. They're probably better off just to jump on an airplane and, my God, in 12 hours, 8 hours, depends what kind of plane you get. Sure. Oh, did that fellow show up with the windows?
I don't know.
It's a nice light right
Is she having somebody do it or what?
Well, I thought,
Oh, is that too bright for you?
well, if you want to kill us here.
Oh, no, I don't want to do that.
My mother was blind.
I can't close this anymore.
She wants to get at me now.
Hmm?
Sorry, I can't close
Yeah,
it.
let me open it up.
Here, I'll
Shouldn't
close
be
it.
that difficult.
You got enough?
Yeah,
Good.
we can do that some more another time.
Donnie, where is everybody?
I think everybody's outside.
Oh, they don't want to sit in that narrow space.
So, do you have any last words for my little interview here? A joke you want to tell, or I want you to sing a song,
Oh!
please.
What do you want?
Just
No,
a
she
little
wants
German song. Sing a song for me.
God, this is expensive. You don't realize that.
Oh, are you going to play the piano?
I don't know anything about
All
it.
right.
Piano.
Yes.
Let's see what's...
Would Mrs. Merkle, would you like to sing a song with your husband about?
I haven't looked at anything in a long time. Well, don't I?
Thanks, Mrs. Merkle.
Here we are. They're getting a new
You play?
1500. I think so. I don't know.
Maybe we'll get Anita to come and play a song. Anita. Anita.
Villa, Dixie, somebody else can do that. Well, you have to find somebody who is in the mood. Well, this is a different story. Yeah. Have they done anything on it? Oh, that's awful. Oh. Ah. These days are gone. Well, they're all sitting outside.
Oh, where'd you go? Oh, okay. Hang on, Chris. Wait. Miss Dr. Merkle.
On camera, well, I think I have 5.
Oh, you want some more?
We want more.
Hi, Opal.
Hi!
How are you?
So, are you working tomorrow?
Yep.
You work today?
Not today. Today I had the whole weekend off.
Uh-huh.
And on Monday
I'm Becky.
you're at it.
Yep.
Okay.
You have to sit down. It's not going to work unless.
Maybe they should sit with you. I like your hair.
Thank you.
It's nice. So, Chris, how are you
Oh,
doing?
yeah, I've been.
I'm doing good. Real good.
Did you meet a new girlfriend yet?
Actually, yeah. I actually sent a new girlfriend. She's
An old girlfriend?
from grade school. I just happened to run into her at a bar not too long ago.
So you hooked up. Is her name Vogel or something weird again?
This is an Amy.
I hide from the camera.
So Anita's gonna play the piano.
And Opa's going to sing.
Oh my god. He has all the music in his house. Let's see if I can find something.
Did the guy clean out?
It's tuned.
It is tuned up?
Mm-hmm.
Not on the lower end.
Mm-hmm. It needs to be voiced.
Well, whatever. Voiced. What you get? The
Well.
German one.
See if I can find something.
Engine from Fahrrad. Yeah.
Do you know that one?
Huh?
Do you know that one?
Oh, where is it? Moving on. God, she makes it a big thing.
Ready?
Come on.
Do, do.
3-4 weeks I have had really bad
Scratchy throat.
throat. Yeah.
You gotta quit that smoking.
Go sing too.
Pardon?
Go sing too.
You know this song.
Let's try this again. 'Cause the first time was.
Lorelei.
Oh gosh, I don't know how this goes. This one? Okay, ready?
Ich weiß nicht.
Whoops. I cannot play this.
Oh, you know.
It's got. I cannot play
Das
this.
kommt mir nicht aus dem Sinn. Die Luft. Ja, ja. Ja, you have to sing it loud.
I'm sorry, I cannot play these.
It's
It's
hard.
too hard.
Lola. Juju is easy.
Okay, let's do this one.
The Tannenbaum. Oh, come on. Go ahead. Tannenbaum, oh Tannenbaum, oh Tannenbaum, oh Tannenbaum, lieb euch die Okay, what do we have?
How about Wiegenlied? Isn't that this Brahms lullaby?
You find it?
Isn't it?
It's I don't know.
Augustin, alles
Das ist die
Geld ist weg, alles ist weg, alles ist weg. Oh, lieber Augustin, alles ist hin.
throat is completely shut. Dead. And she has her feet on an expensive couch.
No, it was free.
It was free.
Good.
That was nice. Can you play that again, Anita? Because
Okay. Oh, to Liebe Augustine, she wants to hear it again. Ready?
It's very high. Go ahead.
Augustin,
Augustin, Augustin, Augustin, Augustin, alles ist hin. Geld ist weg, Geld ist weg, Augustin, Augustin, alles ist hin.
Let's see. The book I'm familiar with is at your house. These
that was nice.
Dead.
You sound good.
No.
You do.
I think
that's
it'll be a
very
couple of
popular.
weeks. There's another red one.
Is that a new shirt?
Yes.
It's very cool.
That's his
Got it.
birthday shirt.
I like it.
How much longer are you doing this, Chris? Is that a year or what?
Doing what? My job?
What's your job there?
Indefinitely.
I'll see how it goes.
Pardon?
Take it one day at a time, see what happens.
Oh, you don't know? You haven't signed yourself for it or
No
something?
contract or nothing, no.
Nothing.
For however long I want to.
Oh.
I'll probably do it for another like 4 or 5 months or so, and then start looking for a
So
new
what?
job.
Couple more,
A few more months.
2 more months.
Yeah, I'll start
And then what are you
looking
gonna do?
for look for a better paying job, and then eventually go back. Look for a better paying job, and then go back to school
Don't blame
eventually.
you.
Treue Liebe. Wait, it's not on, is it?
I think it is.
Well, what's it focused on? Like, let's not focus it on nothing. Is it on?
I think it is because
Yeah, it
there's
is.
a red light on.
So stop it.
And so the cook said, well, this is a rabbit, and the guys brought it. And then the colonel said, well, I'd like to have a rabbit too. And you tell those guys that, you know, to go and get one for me. So what the guys did, they caught a cat and brought it to the cook, and he cooked the cat for the colonel. So, see, they did crazy stuff. And they would also go to sometime like way in the Russian territory, they would want potatoes. And, you know, there were some fields, and, you know, they should have never gone there because, you know, they were endangering themselves. But, you know, if you're hungry, you could do stupid things. So they would drive.
Be back in a second. Okay. You can keep on telling the story.
Pardon?
You can keep on telling the story.
Yeah, well, they would go, they drive over the fields and get themselves some potatoes and bring them home again. So that was, they were taking chances there, but then that's what it's all about. Oprah was mentioning something about your windows, you're getting cleaned.
I don't
Your
know.
mom hasn't heard anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mm.
So what's another
We're
story?
getting ours done on Thursday,
Are
he's
you?
coming. We have a good guy. He does a good job.
Do you have any more stories?
Pardon?
Do you have any more stories? Or you told them all?
Did you ever hear that one
No,
about
I've
the
never
rabbit?
heard one.
Oh, you haven't? Oh gosh, I thought I told that to everybody.
Did you talk about medical school already?
Yeah, about medical school, I can tell you something, or pre-med, or medical. When I was in Erlangen, you know, in Nuremberg, that's where I had my first 2 semesters. And there in, where we did this, you know, when you're in anatomy, the seminar, whatever it is, where you cut up and stuff like that. And we had such a wonderful time in there. We were about 6 people around one body. We had a body, and so one was cutting, or 2 were cutting on both sides, and the rest of us were standing around with our books, and we were checking up, you know. And there's a lot of kidding going on, and we were really friendly, a friendly group. And then when I came to Heidelberg, and we had one, I guess we had to do an arm. Then Dad and I were, you know, assigned this arm, and he wouldn't let me. I'd like to stay and hang around a little more and chat, you know, chat up. And he wouldn't let me. He'd insist that we go back, you know, and whatever. So,
Mrs. Merkle, do you have any advice for your granddaughter?
pardon?
Do you have any advice for your granddaughter about her
Pardon?
love life?
She said, do you have any advice for me?
If I have any advice for you,
For her.
Yeah. For me?
don't be so dependent. Do your own thing. Right. Yes.
Anything else?
Yeah, don't let any other people make plans and, well, you do that anyways. You do your own thing. But there was something else I was gonna say, I tell a story that happened in
Somewhere there
Heidelberg.
must be warm.
We often say on a real nice day, we just skip classes and we go on the Neckar. This is, you know, that's the other
Great-granddaughter,
river, the
right?
smaller river.
How did it go?
And we rent a boat and we go boating for a couple of hours.
Sure.
And
look
in this
nice.
area, there was,
This is Moyne here.
Oh, watch the corner.
Yeah.
see, where the water was coming down.
Like a waterfall?
I don't know what you call it, yeah. And so it was one of the guys, they would try to get there as close as possible. You know, it's another stupid thing. And then the same guy who tried to feed you as a kid, this Dr. Kramer, he went so close, he was pulled down by this water.
Waterfall?
And he was under the whole thing. And then people noticed that, and so there was a a place there where they could be changed. And then they changed this, and then the water started running down, and he came up again. But this, was a very unpleasant experience.
It was.
Yeah, he was, he was
you in
half
the boat?
drowned.
Yeah, but I wasn't stupid enough to go over.
Stephanie, your grandfather looks very handsome today.
He sure does.
He's a very snappy dresser, very elegant.
Who's that?
You.
Oh, so handsome. I have a nice thing here.
Well, where do you get your clothes? I mean, you look like you get your clothes in another land. They're so elegant.
How you like this?
Is this from Arizona?
Figure it out.
It has to be
Let's see.
Arizona. It's turquoise and silver. It's either Arizona or Mexico.
Yeah?
Where'd you get it?
No, I bought it.
We've been in Mexico several times,
It's in there.
and we have bought beautiful silver
Mexico.
Sure.
and at very reasonable prices.
It's a nice one, isn't it?
Anita's got so
Let's see.
bracelet and
Hang on.
necklace.
See? Yeah.
Hold it up.
Show the camera.
I can zoom in. Stay there. Yeah, that's good. Nice. Bring it down a bit.
Yeah. That's it.
Does it symbolize anything for you?
Do you remember when you got it?
No idea, just walked in.
So do you have any advice for your granddaughter who's becoming a doctor?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Go for it.
What's your advice?
Yeah. Why don't you get married, for heaven's sakes? Forget all this damn thing. Right? No.
Wrong.
And you're absolutely right, you will be unhappy the rest of your life.
She'd be unhappy if what? She'd be unhappy if what? She would be unhappy the rest of her life if what?
Yeah. Will she be? Watch out. Oh, she's alright.
So she would be unhappy or happy. You think she should be a doctor?
Sure, she should be a doctor. It needs a few doctors who are smart and intelligent, and the rest of them, they just have to do what they were told. Period. You know.
Excuse me.
What? Hold it. Ooh, it's a
Sorry.
little.
Wow. I'm not the
It's
best
alright.
camera person.
No, this thing goes. Hey, and you can't go that far.
You want me to help you? You got it.
It's all right. Well,
Let's see.
you want this? It's a dirty handkerchief. I can't do
Oh,
that.
Dr. Merkle, do you know
I
who
do
this
for-
person is?
Yeah, we've met, yeah.
Sure.
He's-
I've been here a few times. I sit over here. Yeah, I was
Sure.
I was adopted here for some time.
Me too.
You too?
When I first moved here,
Really?
my first night.
Yeah.
No.
But I even brought my brother here. Did you
I didn't
bring
go
your
that
sister?
far. No,
No?
I didn't go that far.
The two of us
But-
together stayed in this house for like somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. You know that?
I remember.
Yeah.
I lived here too. You guys were my big brothers.
You mean you and your brother?
Yeah, I have an older brother.
I know,
You
I
remember.
met him here,
Yeah, and he,
when both of you were here.
right, he was
Right.
visiting me and I was homeless. So
Is he still here in Detroit, or is he
he's
somewhere
back he's in San Francisco. That's where his family
Uh-huh.
is. Yeah. So I assume that he's, fine. So, and plus that, I don't know how many times I've stayed in your house.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and I've slept in Stephanie's room too, and Chris, and so I know the beds in this.
I've slept in your bed too.
Mhm. Mine's the most comfortable in the whole house.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, you're really fluffy.
Yeah, I like it soft.
Yeah, soft, yeah.
So, okay. I have a question for Mrs. Merkle.
Question for you.
For me?
Mm-hmm. So Tell me
Okay,
about-
Speak up.
okay. Tell me about Tom Dubuchanek.
She wants to hear about Tom.
But who?
Tom Dubuchanek.
Oh, I know him quite well. He's been at our house several times, and I've met him here. And, well, he is
He goes to the
tremendously
next wedding.
talented in many directions, but he's a real eccentric, obviously. I mean, we all know that. Do you know him?
Tom?
You don't?
No,
You don't? No.
no.
Well, it's an experience to know him,
Is it maybe an
Yeah.
experience
but
that
he's very gifted.
He was my teacher for 3 years.
at Carleton? You went to Carleton. This is this crazy Canadian, Serbian or something?
Croatian.
Croatian.
Croatian. Yeah.
He's the reason I'm here in Detroit.
He is. He's the man that who also worked on this project at the Mexican Town Development
Yeah, yeah,
Corporation.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I've heard the little bits of stories that he is.
You would like him.
eccentric.
You would like him. He's
I
a-
would. Hey, you know, you're wrong. I'm just somebody who's trying to be just an ordinary person really hard every day, but I fail almost twice a day. Maybe I try once a day. I fail twice a day. I don't know how that.
Why would you
works out.
try for that?
You know, it's like, God, you think about those people and, you know, in the Yugo that breaks down like the car itself, you know. I can imagine that the ultimate, how ironic that may be, is the dream is to live in the suburb in America, maybe even Detroit, you know, and that would be so peaceful that the village and houses wouldn't be burned, at least, you know. I mean, who knows, maybe it would be, but I'm taking
How much did
chances.
they burn
The house
last night
Oh, and you're talking about in.
in Lansing?
in Lansing because of the Spartans.
Oh.
Yeah, the
I wanna ask you a question.
F-117 crashed on the East Lansing campus and they had to rescue the pilot from the television crews, from the Serbian television crews.
So what happened?
Okay, I wanted to ask Dr. Merkle a question. When you do you know anything about Lafayette Park, a neighborhood called Lafayette Park?
Lafayette Park?
Comment.
No.
Not anymore. The name doesn't mean anything anymore.
Okay. How about you, Mrs. Merkle?
Do you remember a neighborhood called Lafayette Park
A neighborhood?
in Detroit?
It's a Woodward kind of thing.
We didn't live there.
No.
I know Boston Edison. That's where we lived.
Oh, you lived in Boston, Edison?
Yeah.
I drove by the house the other day.
Really?
I think it's the right one. I haven't been there since I was.
8156.
I think I was.
want to
12
go
when I
there.
started. You want to go there? I'll take
Oh,
you
I
there.
want to go there so bad. Yes.
You guys, please Sorry.
Can we get that on tape?
See, we all came from Germany, and my father bought a house on Boston Boulevard, and
Oh,
we
really?
all got into that house. Us here, and my sister and her kid, we all moved into that house in Boston Boulevard. And then when my father died, and my husband started making some money, we bought a little house in Redford Township, and my sister moved over to Pennsylvania, and then that house was sold.
Oh,
That was very wonderful, you know, that
That's
we bought
when
that
everybody
house, so
was
we all
together.
lived together. We were all taken care of, coming from Germany,
right.
coming with nothing, you know, we came with nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was
That's a beautiful
tremendous
story.
that he bought this house, and he let us use the car and all those things, and paid for the food.
We-
So that made it
I-
easy. You see, if people come
Right.
here with nobody to look out after them,
Right.
that can get very
That can be
miserable.
really hard, yeah.
I
Okay,
went
let's
out and bought a
eat.
used car, and what's the second car? The first one was just a small. It's all right.
Well, we still take it. Sorry, just last minute. This is good.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah. The house was a nice, solid house.
Mhm.
It was built. It was nothing before. There was nothing there, and they put this house up, and it's a nice place. And it's still a nice place. The neighborhood is really nice. They are not rich, but they built a nice place with a. It was very pleasing, and I thought it was nice.
This is housed in Redford or
In Boston.
Boston,
Boston.
Edison.
Yeah.
Edison.
At that time when the house was built, there was hardly anything around it.
There what?
There was
What did
nothing.
when you moved there, was there anything around it?
There were
Around it, yeah, there are all kinds of, yeah. Right now, it's a solid place,
Mhm.
yeah. And actually, if you come in our Gegend right now,
Mhm.
better bring some money along.
Where was the?
Oh.
What's the cost?
350,000.
It's right off of Woodward.
Right off Woodward?
Well, like 2 blocks in.
Oh, because I lived in Detroit for a year 20 years ago, 1979 probably.
Okay.
This is gonna get very cold.
Okay.
Let's go.